Think about the last time you've made a meaningful prediction. This could be buying a stock, making a forecast for your job. It could even be something like buying a plane ticket or holding off because you think the price is going to go down. We make predictions about the future constantly. And whether the stakes are big or small, most of the time what happens is we make a prediction, we wait, we see the result, and then we move on with our lives. And that's totally fine. That's what I do. There's simply too many predictions to deeply analyze everything. But there's a middle ground. I'm going to share with you the exercise that I've been doing to fine-tune my ability to make predictions. All you need is a computer and a pen and a piece of paper, or honestly nothing. Honestly, you could just follow along. Let's take a look at the exercise. Some quick background. I noticed over the years I fell into a weird pattern. I would make a prediction, see the result, profit or lose from it, and then I would never think about it again. I'd buy a stock. If it went up, great. If it didn't, too bad. But here's the thing. When we decide to invest in a stock, we are subconsciously telling ourselves that the price in the future is going to be more than the price today. It's a simple concept, but I overlooked it. What we need to do and what we're trying to get better at with this predicting is predicting the actual price of the stock in the future. We don't just want to know if it goes up or goes down. We're going to push ourselves to predict what the stock's going to be at on certain days, write down our logic, and see if we're right. And this is the nature of the exercise. The nature of the exercise is to make concrete predictions about things that are in the near to midterm future, a couple months to a couple years, revisit them, learn about our biases, and see if we were right, or see what we can take away. Let's take a look at the exercise. The best way to show you this exercise is for us to go through it together. I thought my last video had too little B-roll, so enjoy this video of me acting like I'm getting set up for the exercise. And while you get set up, you can decide if you're gonna go through it now, or if you wanna wait till after the video and go through it, that's totally cool too. I'm gonna start by brainstorming things that I wanna predict right now. Things like the S&P 500, the price of Bitcoin, my personal earnings from my consulting business each month, and then also YouTube views. The views of this video or the views of this channel. The channel's relatively young, so I thought that that would be fun to predict. Now, the thing about this exercise is we need to make it quantifiable. If I'm gonna push myself to predict YouTube views, I'm not just gonna say over 500 or over 1,000. I'm gonna push myself to predict actual amounts of YouTube views, and I'm gonna do this over the next 3 years. So June 30th, 2023, 2024, and 2025, and I'm gonna do views of this video. 3 years down the road is a lot of time, but that's what makes this so interesting. Now we need to make this quantifiable. That's a key point that I want to get across in this video. I want you to predict actual numbers in the future. So if we're talking about this YouTube video, this particular YouTube video, I'm not just going to say over or under 500 views or 1,000 views. I'm going to push to predict actual views in the next 3 years. June 30th, 2023, 2024, and 2025. 3 years is a long time, and that's what makes the results so fun to look at when the time is up. Personally, my reaction right now is just to throw out a number right away and lock that down in a journal and revisit it in a few years. But the point of this exercise and the value of this exercise comes from analyzing your thinking. We've all heard that expression, garbage in, garbage out. Well, if we just make 3 predictions and then look at them 3 years in the future, even if we're completely right or completely wrong, we don't have any basis to decide whether our thinking was good or bad. And most importantly, we can't analyze where we went wrong. But that's the crux of it. We want to get to the bottom of how we're making our predictions and whether there's anything that we need to adjust. You get it. We don't need to write a novel here, but if we skip this step or we do it too vaguely, the whole exercise loses its value. So what can you do? Again, we don't need to write a novel, but we want to put down 3 or 4 bullets that outline how we're thinking about our future prediction. This is so that in 3 years' time, when you look back on this, you have a basis for analyzing whether you were thinking about things correctly or if there were certain biases that you had going into this. You want to write this down so you can remember. Even if you have strong conviction right now about what's going to happen in 3 years, I'm telling you, you won't remember this. When I look back at my predictions from 3 months ago, I don't even know what I was doing. It feels like a different person completely. Here are some considerations that I'm going to think about in 2023, 2024, and 2025. Okay, first, YouTube's algorithm. It'd be great if I get picked up on YouTube's algorithm, but I am not counting on it. I bet they need a certain amount of views before they start to take your videos seriously. And I don't have a big enough network to propel myself into that view count. So I don't really think YouTube's algorithm is going to do much for me. And my network is certainly not big enough to do thousands of views. Because of that, I'm going to start at a very low view count for year 1. Next, we need to think about outside factors. And I'm actually gonna do a quick tangent here. If you're predicting the value of a stock and you think the stock is gonna go up, then in the back of your mind, you're not thinking that there's gonna be a recession, which will take down the value of all stocks. I need to think about how the tide's gonna work for this video. And again, I really don't expect the YouTube algorithm to do much for me here. And because of that, I'm gonna continue to push this projection pretty low for year one. Also, an outside factor is my YouTube creator network, which again is 0. If I had a big network of YouTube creators and they were all promoting my videos, sure, I'd expect maybe 1,000 views, and then I might expect this to get picked up by the algorithm, but none of that's gonna happen. So again, I'm left sort of within my own network, and because of that, I expect view count to be relatively low. Once I do get picked up on YouTube's algorithm, I bet that the algorithm works better if they've identified you as a quality video, and I'm not sure they're gonna identify this video as quality or whatever this video is. So because of that, I think that the algorithm's not gonna do much for me. Again, leaving me to my own network to promote, and again, meaning that the view count's gonna be relatively low. So there is a possibility that I could have some success advertising to bring up view counts, but I'm not really planning on that right now, even though that's what I do for my job. Instead, I'm thinking about this only as organic. So if that changes, great, we could have thousands of views, but if it doesn't, then again, I think I'm still relatively low. The last major factor I can think of is if I somehow come up with a viral video that all of a sudden brings me loads of subscribers and all of those subscribers go back and look at old videos. But the odds of that happening, I feel, are pretty slim. So you can kind of hear where I'm going with this. This video is going to be left up a lot to how I promote it. And I'm not really a self-promoter or don't have a huge network. So I'm kind of thinking that this is just going to not do a huge view count. Now here's something that could really tip things in my favor. Through all of my years of doing decision journaling, I have a really strong bias for underrating how long a time frame is. In this case, it means that all of these things that I'm mentioning, me self-promoting, me emailing, maybe word of mouth, yes, they may move slowly, but a year is a long time, and 3 years is a very long time. And this is something that I tend to underrate. So because of that, it's possible that the view count is actually much higher than I would have assumed, and I'm gonna add some multiples to this. Given all of these factors, the internal factors, the external factors, trying to get picked up on YouTube, these edge cases of me having a viral video and then it all of a sudden leading to more views of this video, I've come up with the following predictions. I think that in year one, June 30th, 2023, this video will have 1,300 views. On June 30th, 2024, this video will have 4,750 views. And finally, in 3 years from now, which again is a super long time, and this could sound ridiculous, but I think that this video will have 14,698 views. Now there is no science to this. This is predictions, but the value of this is that I took you through my logic. I'm explaining, why I think that the view counts are gonna be what they are. And then if something happens and I get way fewer views, maybe I can take away that I overrated the power of my network. If I get way more views, maybe I underrated the power of YouTube's algorithm or getting picked up somewhere or whatever the case is. So now that we've made these predictions, we just need to set calendar invites so I can come back and I can look at how we did. So I'm gonna set a calendar invite for June 30th, 2023, 2024, 2025, and then I'm gonna write down what the actual numbers were next to the prediction numbers, and I'll have a record of it. I need to add a disclaimer here that waiting is clearly the worst part of this whole thing. As soon as you get started, you want this instant gratification, you wanna see how your predictions did, just set them and forget them. I can tell you that if you start doing this regularly, like once a month, once every couple of months, eventually you have these rolling decisions coming through where you can review, in my case, just how wrong I am about historical predictions. But the nice thing is I get reminders of my biases, and that helps me improve things in the future. This is a really nice transition to the goal of this exercise. Is the goal of this exercise to be right? Well, sure. It'd be great if we could all make perfect predictions and we could have record of the best predictions we've taken. And as an aside, if you have a strong feeling about a prediction and you don't want to wait, and you've already decision journaled about it and you want to go ahead and buy a stock or make a forecast or whatever, do it. This isn't stopping you at all. However, for this exercise, the goal of being right is secondary. The most important thing is learning whether we have biases. A quick story. On March 6, 2020, just as COVID was getting started, I made a prediction with my friend that COVID cases would be at 6,000 worldwide by May 1st, 2020. On that date in May, there were 1.1 million cases just in the US. It's possibly my worst prediction to date. Is it worth getting upset over how wrong I was? Absolutely not. Instead, I just have to go back and see where things went wrong. In this case, and this is something that happened throughout the whole pandemic and is continuing to happen, I've underestimated COVID and I've continued to overestimate our response. These are the biases that I've learned about myself, and I can use them in future predictions. It's funny, the more you predict something incorrectly and the more incorrectly you predict it, the more you're able to see the bias in yourself and fix it. Believe it or not, learning about these biases can really help you in something that's unrelated. Here's an example. For startups, I realized that I tended to underestimate how much things can grow or how quickly things can grow. So since then, I've actually invested in a few startups at a higher price than I normally would because I think that they can grow faster than I originally would have predicted. And so far, it's worked out really well. Let's wrap this up. You can often see who's the best at this because they've translated this skill to money. They're rich. If you understand an outcome before other people, you can take a position on that outcome for money, and often you get rewarded for it. Integrating decision journaling into your life is a no-brainer. It takes so little time, and each time you do this, it leaves you with a little nugget about how you think and allows you to reflect on if that's something that you want to correct or keep. As you do this more frequently and you do it for specific industries, you're going to learn not only about the industry, but also about yourself. This is a 2-for-1 that leads to huge improvements in your ability to predict value. Good luck. Feel free to use the comment section as a place for you to write down your predictions. No editing. If you're interested in more business talk or general talk or whatever talk this is, I'll see you in the next one.